Hi everyone, welcome back to another gameplay of Infinitode 2. So there's been a minor update on the game and I'm gonna just cover the main changes right now. And then I just wanted to do this video to show you guys which are the best towers in the game once you completely max Endless. So once you complete your research, your Endless research, all the towers are maxed. All the abilities are maxed, the general stats, everything is maxed. Which are the towers are the best ones once you reach this stage? So first, let's talk about the minor update. You can see here it's 1.8.4, and in this last minor update, the game has become completely free to play on Steam. So that's great news for those of you who wanted to play on the computer and you couldn't because you couldn't bought the game because before it cost like $4 or like $3 to $5, I don't remember, but the game had a cost. Now it's completely free. But of course, for me, for example, that I bought the game on Steam, I unlocked the double gain as right away. Now double gain is if you download the game for free from Steam. Double gain can be achieved if you purchase it in-game, exactly as it is for the mobile platforms. So that's it. And another thing is that they have actually buffed double gain. Now you're gonna be able to double not only green peppers and resources from your game, but blueprints. You're gonna be able to double bids, tickets. You're gonna be able to double all these extra things. The only things that you don't get double are the tiles, the map editor tiles, and I think like keys also, they don't get double. But chests get doubled, you get double amount of bids especially. That's a huge help, and that's gonna allow you to, if you have double gain, you're gonna be able to progress through your endless research much faster. So definitely it's a huge thing. And I think also now that they have made research tickets to be droppable, so you can gain research tickets by looting. So if you loot enemies, you can gain also research tickets. So that's another cool thing. And that's pretty much it for this 1.8.4 minor update on the game. And now let's move on to the main event. The strongest towers in the game once you max Endless. And I have created here a custom map just for that purpose. You can see here all these modifiers, all these minors, just so that the towers can level up very quickly. And I'm gonna talk here about the overall tower stats, the special stats, the abilities, and then how you can further increase the damage output of these towers. So the first tower that we're gonna talk about, that I think makes like the top 5 strongest towers once you max Endless, is the sniper. So let's now start here. Let's just wait to reach level 100. And here we go. Alright, so let's pause the game now. So you can see that the upgrade level is 0. I'm gonna now upgrade it also level 10. And you can see that with each upgrade, in this case, every stat is increased. For the second upgrade, also every stat. You can see that the third upgrade only increases damage, rotation speed, and aiming speed. So you don't gain all the stats with each single upgrade. So remember that this applies like to every tower. So depending on the upgrade, sometimes you upgrade some stats, other times you upgrade other stats. Normally, like damage is always increased for all the upgrades. Like it's the only stat that always is increased. The other ones, sometimes you upgrade the range, sometimes you don't, and attack speed as well, and so on. So now this sniper is level 100, level 10, and just take a look here at the stats. Range is very large. You can see that the range of this sniper is one of the largest in the game, and therefore that makes a sniper a super good tower because no matter where you place it, it's always going to be able to reach the entire map. Or you should be able to reach most of the map if you're playing on a map like the depth level. But yeah, the range definitely it's very nice. But the strongest part of the sniper doesn't really come from its base damage or from attack speed, the aiming speed, or the rotation speed. The main strength of the sniper, once you max endless, comes from the special stats, crit chance and crit multiplier. The maximum amount of crit chance you can get on a sniper is 90, so you can't get past this number. That means that 9 times out of 10 the sniper is gonna crit. And now this crit is gonna do 2.19,000% of the damage you have right here. And now this might be hard for you to understand, like, well, but how much is that? Try to think about it in this way. If here there would be just a 100, so if the crit multiplier would be 100%, when the sniper crits, that crit deals exactly double the amount of your base damage, because it's the base damage plus the value of the crit that is exactly the same as the base damage. So the crit would do exactly double damage, and this is for 100%. Now if here you have instead 200%, the crit deals 3 times the value of the damage, so the total damage that you do with the crit is 3 times this number here, and so on. So 2.19,000% means that the sniper is doing 21.9 times the damage that you see right here. And if you grab a quick calculator and you try to say, okay, but how much is that amount? I don't have any abilities yet. Remember that you can further increase the damage with your abilities, but let's just, for the sake of it, let's just try to calculate how much that amount is. And that amount is actually 587,000 roughly. So that means that with each attack, this sniper is doing almost 600,000 damage. When, of course, when it crits. When it doesn't crit, it deals 26,800. So that's an insane boost. And as I said before, if you just get the ability, so you don't even get modifiers, you don't place a sniper on a damage tile like this one that doubles the base damage, you just get the second ability that increases by 91% the damage. Now this is enough so that the sniper now deals 1.1 million damage with each crit, and you crit 9 times out of 10, so it's an insane amount of damage. You can see these enemies here, they have around like 2000 HP pretty much, and this sniper with the crits, it's doing 1.1 million damage. So just try to think about that, and it's crazy. And this is for each single crit. The attack speed here, the aiming speed makes the sniper be able to attack multiple times a second, and if you crit, you're doing millions of damage each time. So it's just an insane amount of damage, and just only with this, not even considering then the ultimate, that I'm gonna just talk about this in a moment, makes the sniper one of the strongest towers in the game once you max endless. So once you can really push this crit multiplier so high. Now in terms of abilities, I think that going for damage and the first one that makes the bullets able to penetrate at least one enemy, so to damage 2 enemies at once, it's the way to go. Going for more damage, for more range, it's pointless, because you can see that the range is already super large, so increasing it any further seems really pointless to me, so always go for the first 2 abilities. And now, of course, level 10 is a passive, so you automatically have it. And then let's talk here about level 20. So you can choose between going for 10% more power, and you can see the power increases all the stats other than range and the special stats, and the ultimate. Now the ultimate of the sniper, it's very good because of the fact that it already increases the damage that it does the further the enemies are from the sniper. So the further the enemies are, the more damage it does. And now when enemies are closer than 3.5 tiles, so remember guys that the measure of this game is tiles. So this is 1 tile, this is 2 tiles. So if you imagine the sniper is right here, this is 1 tile of distance, 2 tiles, 3 tiles, and so on. So imagine that in a range around, pretty much around here. So imagine here there is a circle, right, like this. So all the enemies killed by a critical hit inside this area, so that are pretty close to the sniper, are gonna explode, dealing 38.5% of their max HP. Of course, if they're killed with a critical hit. Remember that your crit chance is very high, so you should be critting like almost every time. This is a very good ultimate, not only because of the damage it does, so the extra damage, but because of the fact that it's a percentage damage. In the late game, enemies start getting millions of HP, or actually even billions of HP. Many zeros. But the fact that with the sniper, if you can critical hit them when they are closer to your tower, and you kill them, they're gonna explode, and in the area around them, they're gonna be doing 38.5% of their max HP. So if that max HP is, I don't know, 1 billion, you're gonna be doing 38.5% of that 1 billion. So this ability scales up even for the late game, like it doesn't become any weaker. Most abilities, unfortunately, become pretty bad in the late game because of the fact that enemies, just with the amount of HP they get, it's just they just get so strong. But this ability doesn't do it. It just scales up with the late game. So it's a very powerful ability. And just because of this ability, you might try to place a sniper closer to the enemies. So try to place a sniper like in a spot, like for example, a spot like here would be very good, because you can control all this area, and all the enemies killed with a crit around this area would explode, doing this this percentage damage that is very nice, especially with late game. So for all these reasons, the sniper is one of the strongest towers in the game once you max Endless. The second tower that I'm gonna talk about that I really think shines a lot in Endless is Splash. Splash, before the 1.8 update, was the tower mostly used for farming, but now, because of the fact that the huge nerf coming from 1.8 is the fact that this tower cannot target regulars that are the most common enemy you're ever gonna find. Every portal spawns regulars, you can't escape from there. Now, because of this tower, it's pretty weak, and you're always gonna need like another tower to compensate. But if we just try to ignore that, because as well, like sniper for example, can attack flying enemies, so each tower always has a weakness and you can never run away from it. And in this case, for Splash is gonna be regulars. Now this is the Splash level 100. You can see here the stats, upgrade level 0. Unfortunately, Splash is very easy to cap, like a lot of different stats can be capped. For example, accuracy, the maximum is 120%, so once you reach this stat, it doesn't get any higher. Projectile speed as well, 16 tiles per second is the maximum amount you can get on any tower. And projectile count as well, the maximum is 20, so you cannot get past these 3 numbers in any way, but you can still increase, for example, range or attack speed or damage. And I'm gonna just upgrade now the tower, and you're gonna see that is exactly these 3 stats that get increased because of the fact that, as I said before, these other 3 are, well, these other 2 are capped already. So this Splash level 10, you can see that the base damage, it's lower than the sniper. Also the range is much lower. The attack speed is slightly higher. And now Splash is a tower that attacks an area around it, so you can't change the targeting. So you can see right here. And now the combination between projectile speed, projectile count, and attack speed is what makes the Splash able to shoot so many projectiles at once. So I don't know if you can see it, but it's a lot of projectiles at once. And now what really makes this tower strong when you max Endless is the ultimate. Also, the first ability is pretty nice because of the fact that it makes bullets able to penetrate enemies, so you can keep on penetrating enemies. Each time you do 22% less damage, but you can, you know, do a lot more of area damage in this way. So this is the ability that you're always gonna have. Then regarding the other 2 abilities, I always like to go for more attack speed, because I feel like attack speed really makes Splash able to shoot even more projectiles. and so I think it's more valuable than this one, because this one, well, you don't gain any projectile speed because it's already capped, so you only gain more damage. And yeah, so for that reason I personally prefer attack speed, but I know a lot of players that prefer going for the third ability, so it just depends on what you prefer, I guess. Well, the level 10 that deals extra damage to enemies that are not so fast, and as I said before, the most important part, so what really makes this tower so strong in the late game, is its ultimate. The ultimate makes the enemies killed to launch 10 spikes in different directions. These directions are always random, and now the fact is that each time you kill an enemy with these spikes, they increase the damage they do. So you get a 12% increase every time you can kill an enemy with a spike. So this is a very powerful combo to make a chain reaction. So you destroy an enemy, and then with those spikes that the enemy has spawned, you destroy another one, and you destroy another one, and all the time those spikes are getting 12% stronger and stronger and stronger. So you end up doing a ton of damage, and this is a very good for chain reactions, like to group enemies, and it's especially good to farm 6.3 to achieve very high a maximum DPS. That's high. So yeah, the ultimate is what really makes this tower shine, and of course the fact that you can bring it level 100, you can increase the other stats, makes it quite better. So always go for the ultimate. The power, 10% power, it's not that great in my opinion, so it's always better to go for the ultimate. And remember, the splash can actually target flying enemies, but as I said before, the main weakness is regulars. So so yeah, it's just this. So yeah, in my opinion, like splash would make like the top, probably is in the 4th spot in terms of strongest tower on max endless. So definitely it's weaker than a sniper, so that's for sure. Now moving on, the 3rd tower that in my opinion gets very strong on endless is Minigun. This tower, it's one of the towers that, like before the 1.8 update and before I started like maxing endless, I almost never used this tower. I only used it when I had to complete quests or when I had to do some other things, but I never used this tower. And now the main power of this tower comes not for its global damage, because this tower really struggles against group enemies. Because of the fact that it can only target one enemy each time, and you lose actually acceleration each time it has to switch enemies. So this is a pretty bad tower to do damage to group enemies. But it becomes super strong once you get the ultimate. And I'm gonna just go to that in a moment. Now, just analyzing here the main stats, you can see that the special stat is acceleration. This is the percentage of time that it takes to reach this maximum attack speed. So in this case, you can see this 191% per second. So that means that it takes a little bit more than half a second to cap, so to reach the maximum attack speed. I'm gonna now upgrade it level 10, and you can see which stats increase and what is the last level 10. The range becomes pretty large, pretty nice. Damage is not so high. Attack speed gets almost doubled, or a bit less than double. And yeah, rotation speed is not that great, but as I said before, like this is in degrees, so this is more than enough to like be able to follow up the enemies. The main weakness of this tower is, of course, well, fighter enemies, 0, so you can't target them. As it is for the first abilities, I always recommend to go for more damage. So you just do more damage with the base attack. And second ability, I used in the past to go with this one, because of the fact that it makes the enemy not get ignited, and therefore you just apply the poison instead, that deals even more damage. And so I thought it would be better, because in that way I can keep the enemy slowed and so on. But after just playing the game a while, I've seen that going for this ability instead, that you can see that doubles the attack speed. So the attack speed becomes more than double. This is the way to go. Yes, you lose a little bit of acceleration, but remember that it's still over 100%, so you take less than 1 second to reach this maximum attack speed. And yeah, so I think that's just, these two abilities are just the best. Level 10, you're gonna ignite enemies once you reach this full speed. And now, I've tried many strategies like involving like freezing and all the stuff, but you can still slow down the enemies even if you ignite them. So don't worry too much about this, and this is gonna just be extra damage that you can apply to the enemies. So I've never really even bothered about the fact that I was able to ignite enemies with it. And now let's go to the strongest part of this tower, that is the ultimate. Now the ultimate, the strength comes from the fact that you're gonna create a maximum of 6 microguns that are gonna spawn on the road tiles. So even if you have all the platforms occupied by towers, by other stuff, you can still create this microgun. So that's a huge advantage compared to a tower like Basic that cannot clone if there are no platforms available. So that's one quick thing. And then the most important thing is the fact that these microguns are going to inherit 100% of the damage, are going to inherit 67% of the attack speed, and are going to inherit 105% of range. So the cool thing is that these microguns actually have more range, so they have 5% more range than the minigun, so that the main tower. and this is very important because sometimes, you know, these microguns are gonna spawn in these very bad spots, but because of the fact that they have such a large range, they can still somehow reach and attack the enemies. And I'm gonna just demonstrate here a couple of waves with the microgun having the ultimate. And you can see how much the microgun struggles against multiple enemies. Now this is the first minigun, you can see it right here, the microgun. You're gonna see that with one already, because of the fact that you double pretty much the damage, you can kill enemies much faster. Now with 2 other microguns, you can kill the enemies much faster. With 3, you can almost one-shot the enemies as they come out. And you can have a total of 6. So with the ultimate, you compensate the tower's biggest weakness, that is dealing with grouped enemies, with grouped waves. And you can actually see, if you click on the main tower, you can actually see the range of each microgun. So you can see, for example, this one, this is the range of this one, this is the range for this other one, these are the ranges for these 2 that are in the left. This one, this range here is for this one right here, and then this range is for that one. So very nice, very large range. Of course, these microguns are destroyed if enemies can walk on top of them, but you can just spawn another one in probably a better spot, so it's never something bad. And you can see now how quickly I'm destroying the enemies with the combination of the minigun and all the microguns. So yeah, this ultimate makes this tower one of the best towers to solo the game. Exactly like Sniper, you can survive a ton of waves just with it if you don't have these fighter enemies, because unfortunately that's the weakness. Exactly like for Sniper, the main weakness is flying enemies. This tower can attack flying enemies, but it cannot attack these fighter enemies. So if you have in some portals you're spawning these enemies, of course you're gonna have to be careful, but this tower can solo the game by itself. So in my opinion, this is a tower that mostly benefits from having like max endless research, and in my opinion is one of the strongest towers in the game. Exactly like I would place it at the same level of a Sniper, and yeah, for all these reasons. And it's especially, remember, it's especially the ultimate that makes that huge difference. So yeah, that's the minigun. Now the next tower that really becomes a lot stronger and shines a lot more on max endless research is Laser. Now Laser, it's another tower that didn't really use a lot because of the fact that it has a lot of limitations, but once you max endless, So once you can make the tower reach level 100, you have stronger abilities. This tower becomes a pretty good solo tower as well. The main weakness of this tower is going to be icy enemies in this case. Now you can see here the stats level 100. I haven't upgraded anything yet. And yeah, so let's just go here for the upgrades, and you can see the stats, how they become. The base stamina of this tower is pretty good. You can see it's very high, 111,000. Range also is pretty decent. The charging speed as well, like you can see that it's 620% per second. So that means that this tower takes less than 1/16 of a second to charge up. So yeah, it's just super quick. And then you have a special stat, battery's capacity, so how long the laser stays on the screen. Now the most important ability for this tower that really shines a lot more once you have endless max is the third one, because you can make the tower now rotate. You lose a little bit of damage, but now the tower can rotate as it shoots. And the beam also, you can see that you double the special stat. Now unfortunately the special stats are something that is not that easy to double, like unless you have some abilities that can increase them, but you can't really increase them that much. So the fact that you can pretty much double the time that the laser stays on the screen, it's a huge benefit. So that's why this is a must-have ability for laser. And now the other two abilities, it depends really on what you want with your defense. The first ability, you're gonna lose a big chunk of damage. You're gonna lose 32% of the damage. But now the laser can penetrate enemies, so you can damage multiple enemies at once. And this is especially good for the late game, as the enemies will start getting more HP than your amount of damage, so you're not gonna be able to like one-shot them anymore. Or you can go for mirror systems. In this case, endless also is a huge benefit, because you have a total of 6 beams. So not 3, that is the maximum on normal research, but 6. And you lose also a portion of damage. In this case you lose 27%, so it's a bit less compared to this one. But you have 6 lasers. In my opinion, like the combo of large batteries and mirror systems, especially if you place your laser like closer to the path, is the best combination. I'm gonna just spawn here one wave so you can see. So these are the 6 lasers. You can see that they're pretty close. So I'm hitting here when the enemies are spawning. I'm hitting, like, I'm using 3 to 4 lasers. So I'm hitting enemies with 3 to 4 lasers. So I'm already compensating this damage reduction that I got from getting the ability. So you can see why it's so strong. Level 10 is also pretty strong because it increases even more the charging speed, but you have to be careful, because if you place other towers around it, you're gonna lose this bonus by 5.5% for each tower that you get placed close. And now power and the ultimate is one of the strongest in the game, but unfortunately on endless it only works if you're placing this tower for like maybe until wave 150 to 100. If you're playing for the late game, like reaching wave 500, wave 1000, going for the ultimate is actually worst than going for more power, because of the fact that you're not gonna be able to survive only with the towers. You're gonna start placing other towers, and unfortunately towers like Minigun, like Sniper, are gonna start stealing a lot of kills. And unfortunately this ultimate only works when the tower kills enemies. So you're not gonna be able to keep on killing enemies with laser. You're gonna lose all the damage. You're gonna lose all the benefits from this one. You're gonna always have 0% extra damage. So even though this ability can be good in the early game, especially if you're placing just laser, you're not placing any other tower. But then for the late game, if you're placing other towers, it's bad. So it's just better to go for more power. So that's what I would recommend you to do. And this way you have this extra damage, charging speed, and rotation speed that are gonna stick with you forever. Even in the late game, you're gonna be able to do that extra damage, and yeah, you don't have wasted the ultimate because you're not killing any more enemies, so you're just damaging them. And yeah, so that's it for laser. And now the last tower that takes the top 5 spot on the strongest tower on this game once you max endless is of course Crusher. Now Gauss is a very selective tower that I wouldn't call the best tower, because even if it deals the highest amount of damage, it has to be built in a very peculiar way, close to miners, and therefore yes, even if it's a tower that deals a lot of damage, I don't think it's the best tower. So that's why I'm gonna say that Gauss is like top 6 spot, but not top 5. So the last spot here belongs to Crusher. Now Crusher is the new tower that has been added in this last patch, and in this 1.8 update. And it's gonna be a tower that has pretty limited range, so not very large. So this is the smallest range in the whole game. So even like a blast tower has a higher range, of course, like basic tower has a higher range. So yeah, it's the smallest range in the game. And I'm gonna now upgrade it level 10, so you can see here the stats, how they change and what you gain. Alright, you can see that also the range increases a little bit, but not that much. So I'm gonna actually now just place something else so that it can actually reach the enemies. I can reach here at the top, I can reach here on the right side. I place some of these search modifiers that increase the range. And now you can see that this tower has some pretty decent base damage. Projectile speed also is not capped. The amount of the time that it can hold the enemies inside, and then the extra experience that it can give to other towers that attack the enemies as this tower is holding them. The main weakness of this tower is of course flying enemies. And now why is this tower in the top 5 spot on my best towers that you get when you max endless? This comes especially from the second ability, because on endless you can increase its capacity so that it can hold up to 8 enemies at once. Now on normal research, this maximum capacity is 3 enemies. On endless it becomes 8, so it's almost tripled. And the fact that this tower can damage 5 more enemies than normal, it's a huge advantage. And the fact that you can, depending on what you're using this Crusher for, to do more damage or to give more experience with other towers, you can go for one of these other 2 abilities, depending on what you prefer. Personally, because of the fact that the towers when you max endless, the other towers get so strong that Crusher doesn't even have enough time to grab the enemies and to kill them, to like apply the experience bonus. So like it's 9 times out of 10 is useless going for this one, so just go for more damage. And now the disorientation, it's pretty good. It's not very powerful, because even if it's a level 10, you can see there's just 19% chance of forcing the enemies to walk backwards. And if you kill the enemies very quickly, you're not going to be able to exploit much of this. Now, talking instead about the ultimate or power. Now, the ultimate can be good if you want to generate more coins, and especially if you place your Crusher close to like the last portion of the map where the enemies like can walk backwards a lot of platforms, then definitely the ultimate is good. But there are so many other ways to earn more coins, like calling the next wave early, like placing some bounties and so on, that I wouldn't really say this is a must. Sometimes you just go for more power so that you can hold the enemies even for longer. You have even more damage, so this is a little bit better. But definitely the ultimate can be good if you wanna also earn cash with this tower. And this tower is very good, especially on endless, as I said before, because it can hold a lot of enemies at once. And because of the fact that by holding them at once for the late game, you can combo it very well with a Gauss. So you can hold the enemies, you can place like multiple Crushers even though normally like you want only to place like one crusher, or a maximum 2, but the fact that you can place multiple ones, so you can keep on holding the enemies inside, and therefore you can like aim your Gauss not at the main path, but you can aim your Gauss at the crusher, so you're destroying 8 enemies at once because they're all on top of each other. So yeah, it's very good, especially for that combo. Yeah, you can see here some of these random enemies. Here I placed all these search modifiers to boost the range of this crusher, but you can still see that with fast enemies you can miss with the claws. So yeah, definitely the projectile speed, it's something that you have to consider. And yeah, that's it. So this concludes my top 5 towers, the strongest towers in the game once you can max Endless. So I would say that in the first position we have Minigun, then second spot we have Sniper, then we have Splash, then Crusher, and then Laser, top 5. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed, and see ya, bye bye.